I missed my period for 2 months, so I went to the gynecologist. The doctor looked at the report she just got from my test and adjusted her glasses. "Where's your husband? Didn't he come today?" she asked. I shook my head, feeling an ominous premonition. "He's busy with work, no time." The middle-aged female doctor glanced at me with a bit of sympathy in her eyes. I was terrified, hoping it wasn't what I thought. "You're pregnant. Make sure he takes good care of you. No matter how busy, his wife should be the priority." Pregnant. Sure enough. The baby's healthy, just needs some folic acid. I took the folic acid prescription and sat on a bench outside the hospital, zoned out. It was early spring, the sun was warm, but I felt cold all over. Because I don't have a husband, just an ex-boyfriend. And we broke up last week. I don't know what to do about this baby. I can't bear to have an abortion, so I thought, I'll keep it for now. If things don't work out, I'll just be a single mom. It'll be tough, but whatever. On Monday, I went to work as usual. Eric walked out of the office and stood in front of me. We had just broken up before he went on a business trip. No surprise, he looked just the same. Not like I'd been feeling like I'm dying all week. "Is this document yours? Want to take a look at these outrageous numbers?" Eric was always merciless at work. We'd been together for over 2 years, and no one ever knew about us. I had chased him, thinking I could melt his icy heart. But I couldn't become his exception. Eric, looking through his glasses, examined me, and his tone became harsher. "Stella, did you not recover from the weekend? Need another day off?" He was meaner than usual, and I didn't know why. Even though he didn't know I was pregnant with his kid, it's easy for a pregnant woman to get emotional, right? I felt angry and guilty. Yeah, that guy from the club was so hot, I'm still swooning over him. His eyes turned even colder, with tightly pressed lips. I knew that meant he was very angry, but I wasn't scared at all. If Eric dares to be mean again, I'm quitting. After mentally drafting my resignation letter, Eric spoke again. His eyes showed a complex look, and he took a deep breath. "I need it by noon." This wasn't what I expected. Usually, when he's that mad, he'd either ignore me or make things difficult in other ways. But he was calm this time, seems he really has no feelings left. I picked up the document. Last Friday, I asked the new intern, Lisa, to submit it. She's working under me now. I checked the document and saw that the numbers weren't anything like the ones I did. Luckily, I saved the file on the computer. I verified everything, no problem at all. When Lisa came back from the break room, I walked over with a smile. "Lisa, did you submit that document for me last Friday?" She looked a bit evasive. "I did." "Really?" "I remember my data was correct, but Eric said I messed up." Lisa shot up, eyes teary, and looked pitiful as she apologized. "Stella, I'm sorry. I accidentally spilled something on the document. The numbers weren't clear, so I reprinted it, didn't realize I messed up. Our company has lots of these documents with the same template, you just change the title and data to reprint." She wasn't lying about that. I sneered, "Why didn't you just call me?" Lisa looked behind me, tears streaming more. I did call, but for some reason, you didn't answer." I rolled my eyes. This girl's starting to lie now. Last Friday, I was busy throwing out all of Eric's stuff at home, my phone was in my pocket all the time, and there was no call from her. I pulled out my phone's call history, found last Friday, and showed Lisa the screen. "Look, did you call?" Lisa quietly, almost fearfully, said, "Stella, what if you deleted it?" I was about to speak when Eric's voice came from behind. "Is admitting your mistake really so hard?" I didn't know who he was referring to. I turned around ready to retort but found him looking at Lisa. "She trusted you by giving you the document. Spilling stuff on it was your mistake. She could have refused your call after work hours." Lisa's face went pale. She looked at me for help, but I ignored her. She had given up pretending to be weak. But she gave a document to an intern. Didn't she have any responsibility? Eric shot her a cold look. Her mistake was trusting a clumsy person like you with it. Can't an intern even handle submitting a document properly? Lisa had nothing more to say, her eyes filled with resentment towards me. Which was baffling since it was Eric saying this, not me. What reason did she have to hate me? Just because he's handsome? Go settle your wages with the finance department. We don't hire idiots here. Eric's harsh words weren't new to me. He used to talk like that to me all the time during our relationship. It frustrated me back then, but watching him do it to someone else was oddly satisfying. He turned back to me after speaking. Come to the office. I didn't know what he was up to, maybe bringing more trouble for me. He leaned against his office chair, staring through his glasses at me. I felt like he was about to scold me. A minute passed, and I felt more and more uncomfortable. Just as I was about to bolt out the door, Eric spoke. I'm sorry. What? I was baffled. This was the first time hearing an apology from Eric. He ran a hand over his forehead, looking a little helpless. I shouldn't have said those things to you before. His unexpected move made me awkward. If he were scolding me, I would have had a snappy comeback. But an apology leaves me at a loss. Well, I shouldn't have been so lazy and handed the document to her. This was the first time I'd had a calm conversation with him since the breakup. I still remembered yelling hysterically that day. Must have been quite a scene. I was shouting so loud. We fell into a silence in the office, a tense and awkward vibe. I just wanted to get out of there. How's this past week been for you? This was the first time Eric asked me a personal question during work hours. Back when we were dating, I'd whine to him in an empty office, and he'd act all stern. I chuckled, jokingly, great. I've been doing well. Eric seemed a little disappointed but quickly masked it with a serious face. Maybe I imagined it. Not letting personal feelings affect work is good. Keep it up. His eyes seemed a bit red, almost like he wanted to cry. Then I dismissed the thought. Pregnancy brain, Eric would never cry. Lisa was packing up her things. She'd only worked here for 2 days and didn't have much to pack. When she was ready to leave, she came over to me, quietly said something. I hope you and Eric have a long and happy relationship. I gripped my cup tightly. How does she know? No one at the company knew about me and Eric. How did she find out? I realized Lisa looked familiar, recalling seeing her while walking with Eric in the neighborhood. But what's the point in dwelling on it now? We broke up. Thinking about it makes me a bit unhappy, but I still smiled at Lisa. Thanks for the well wishes. We will. Seeing Lisa's face twist instantly felt like a victory. Like I was a proud hen who just won a fight. Seriously, after being with Eric for 2 years, I've learned how to drive people crazy. Did Lisa really think she could take me on? The company was quick, and someone new filled Lisa's position right away. The new intern is not only good-looking but also sweet and hard-working, way more likable than Lisa. Got time after work? I glanced at Simon. He has a fresh, boyish face. No wonder so many of the older women at work take care of him. What's up? Cindy and the others want to hang out and asked me to invite you. I looked at Cindy, who was winking non-stop. I got her hint right away. She's set up to introduce me to someone again. Cindy and the gang don't know I had a boyfriend. They think I've never dated at 25. But I just got out of a relationship and don't want to jump into another one so soon. I'll pass. Simon looked a bit disappointed and lowered his head. Are you not going because of me? I heard from Cindy you hang out with them a lot. If it's because of me, I'll just go home and not bother you guys. I'm just new and not quite ready to hang out together. The way Simon acted reminded me of Lisa. She'd put on a face like this whenever she slacked off. But somehow, Simon pulling off this look was kind of charming. Cindy must have heard Simon since she was smiling softly. All right, I'll go. Simon immediately looked up, his eyes shining like a puppy's that just got a treat. Then wait for us after work. I started chastising myself. Pregnant ladies shouldn't be having these unhealthy thoughts. Suddenly, I felt a chill. Turning around, I saw Eric holding a teacup, staring our way with no expression. I wasn't sure how long he'd been listening. His eyes were red again. I figured something must be up with his eyes lately, they've been getting red sometimes. Maybe I should suggest he sees a doctor? Nah, he's just an ex. Not my concern. The meetup was at a great barbecue place. There were about 5 or 6 of us, so we got a room. Simon sat next to me. While waiting for the meat, Cindy started asking questions. Simon, how old are you? Got a girlfriend? Simon seemed a bit nervous. 22, no girlfriend. Cindy chuckled, and everyone looked between Simon and me. Do you have someone you like? Simon's ears turned red, and he glanced at me shyly. Yeah. I froze. It can't be what I'm thinking, right? Does Simon like me? We've only just met a few days ago. Cindy finally zipped it up, but the awkward stares swirled between me and Simon. Others smirked silently. I felt a bit awkward, so I tried diverting the subject. Where's the meat? I'm starving. Simon, go check. Simon, face flushed, left the room. As soon as he left, it got lively. Cindy's laugh was the loudest. Stella, see how much Simon listens to you. I pretended to be annoyed. Cindy, stop it. Simon's shy. Cindy covered her mouth, giggling non-stop, and her phone rang just as she was about to say more. She glanced at the screen and picked it up cautiously. It's Eric. Yeah? You're coming? Okay. She put down the phone, looking like she had something to say but wasn't sure how. What? Eric's coming too? Cindy sighed. Yep, he asked if we're hanging out and wanted to join for some bonding. The room went silent because none of us bought Eric's whole bonding thing. He never came to our hangouts before. What got into him this time? Thinking about his usual serious work look, I set my chopsticks down. Maybe someone messed up, and he's here to settle scores. Getting into trouble is a form of bonding too, right? Simon came back holding 2 plates of meat. He placed them on the table and started grilling. We have a lot of people today, so the kitchen's still cutting more meat. I've got 2 plates to start with, so go ahead and eat. He grilled skillfully, a clear sign he's familiar with it. After cooking, he placed a piece on my plate first. Here, you're hungry, right? This was with close coworkers, so no one's bothered by it, just chuckling, watching us. Being pregnant, I get hungry easily, so I just digged in. Thanks. Make sure you serve everyone else too. Cindy waved her hand, no need. Just make sure Stella's taken care of. We can fend for ourselves. The remark was filled with playful undertones, making Simon blush again. While munching on the grilled meat, I couldn't help but sigh. Simon's fresh out of college, still unaccustomed to teasing like this, his face bright red like a monkey's butt. Needs more practice. Sorry for being late. Eric pushed the room's door open, a deep voice filling the space. Everyone stood up. Eric. He pulled the chair next to me, motioning everyone to sit. Go on, eat. It's on me today. Silence fell over the room, only the sizzling sound of meat on the grill breaking it. Eric frowned slightly. Why's nobody talking? Do you always eat like this? I couldn't help but roll my eyes, mumbling, with you here, who would dare speak? I wasn't sure if he heard, but his tone softened. Am I making you uncomfortable? Just consider me a regular coworker. Despite him saying that, no one spoke up. His furrowed brows made me feel a pang of sympathy. 2 years together, how do you just forget like that? Simon, why don't you give Eric some grilled meat? Simon hesitated but picked up a few pieces and placed them on Eric's plate. Eric, try these. They're good. Eric glanced at me, then thanked Simon stoically. Thanks, you did a good job with it. Simon's not been at the company long and isn't quite as wary of Eric. Hearing Eric's compliment made him nervous. Ah, it's nothing. It's simple. If you like it, have more. Eric took a bite of what's on his plate, and the room's tension eased up a bit. Conversation started bubbling back. I breathed a sigh of relief. The dinner was normal again. Thinking about how I helped Eric out earlier, I wanted to smack myself. Oh well, a peaceful meal's important for the little one on the way. Come on, eat more. Simon was being really attentive, always serving me more food. Thanks, you should eat too. No, you first. Everyone relaxed and Cindy started joking about earlier. I see Simon really likes Stella, why don't you guys just be together already? I glanced at Eric beside me, his eyes were dark, with a smirk that looked anything but friendly. This can't be a good sign. Simon scratched his head. Cindy, stop joking around. Eric suddenly spoke, while serving some meat onto his plate, as if he said it offhandedly. Doesn't Stella have a boyfriend? Cindy and Simon were stunned. I bit my lip, broke up. Cindy snapped back to reality. Stella, you should have told us you had a partner. But since it's over, let's move on. You gotta look forward. I nodded. Yeah, I need to move forward. Simon was curious about my breakup. He asked, so who initiated the breakup? Cindy shot Simon a look, indicating he shouldn't ask, but clearly, she was curious too. It's been a while since the breakup, except for who he is, there's not much to hide. It was me. Facing a wave of curious looks, I shrugged like it was no big deal. I caught him getting cozy with a bar girl. I mentioned it matter-of-factly, others seemed more upset about it than me, ready to pounce on my ex. Oh, what a jerk. He couldn't keep it together, huh? Stella, you're awesome, not worth keeping around for sure. He's such a scumbag. I'd never do something like that if I had you. They had no clue the guy they were dissing was sitting there with us. Eric's face was growing darker. Okay, let's eat. His voice calmed the room, and people started making small talk, probably out of consideration for me. Simon looked at me with a complex expression. How did you end up with a jerk like him? I glanced at the jerk Simon was referring to, feeling unexpectedly good. Maybe I was blind back then, he was attractive and I liked him. Simon seemed to muster up some courage, looking at me. Sis, people say I'm good looking too, that's what all the girls at school say. Before he could finish, Eric's glass shattered on the floor, expressionless as he stared at the mess. Simon lost courage, his long lashes hiding his eyes as he looked down. I'll call someone to clean this up. I got up, moving around Simon and left the room. I planned to put him down gently, but since he didn't finish, I couldn't reject him outright. Were you disappointed? Because he didn't get to confess? Footsteps came behind me, with Eric grabbing my arm. None of your business. I looked at Eric coldly, wanting him to let me go. He chuckled, making my hair stand on end. Oh no, he's starting again. Not my business. Stella, and here I thought you found someone new so soon after our breakup. Eric's eyes were red, like tears were welling up. We're on the 3rd floor, alone in the corridor. I didn't need to worry about being seen. And you? Couldn't handle it without ordering a bar girl before breaking up, at least I waited. My words seemed to jab at him. He let go of me, but his tone was firm. I didn't invite the bar girl, she got my number herself. I actually believed Eric, he's too proud for anything shady, even hesitant to drink during business meetings. But Fiona was just the catalyst for other issues between us. I started working at Eric's company after graduation. He was exactly my type. His meticulous work attitude had my heart racing, so I launched my plan to win him over. Not only did I keep in touch online, but I'd also secretly bring him breakfast. I leapt into the depths, called Eric, and after a year, he responded. Even though it was just an informal agreement online, I cried with joy. But fairy tales end. Eric wasn't romantic. Dates were homebound, him reading, me watching TV. He ignored holidays or anniversaries. Even during my birthday, he was on a business trip, only calling to say sorry. Slowly, my heart grew cold, prompting the breakup. He was angry that night. We drank and ended up in bed. He moved into my place. I stayed silent on the breakup, thinking maybe we felt closer. But he remained the same, only passionate in that one aspect. I was exhausted, craving a break. I wasn't planning on a breakup, hoping to talk my feelings out and fix things. But then I got a call on his phone while he was in the shower. Eric, it's Fiona. Last week's room 306, remember? I was frozen, losing all reason. Years of dissatisfaction erupted. I tossed his phone and confronted him at the bathroom door. He came out wrapped in a towel, calm as ever. I don't know her. I believed him. He was direct like always, not comforting me. My emotions raged. I smashed a vase and told him to leave. We're over. I felt relief saying it. His eyes were red but mostly expressionless. He asked if I meant it. Yes. After that, he gazed at me deeply. Then got dressed and left. That night and many after, I cried by my bed like an idiot. My thoughts returned to Eric, who seemed to wait for my reply. I believe you. Eric's eyes lit up as he pulled me into his arms. I'm moving back tomorrow. Look, another one-liner like a notice. This guy doesn't even try to sweet-talk me. He thinks as long as I say I trust him, it's all water under the bridge. I pushed him away and looked into his slightly confused eyes. No need. Why? His eyes were filled with confusion and panic. Trusting you doesn't mean we're getting back together, got it? I turned and walked away. I had wasted too much time already. If I didn't go back soon, Cindy and the others would get suspicious. When I returned with a server, Eric was still standing there, not moving an inch. I ignored him and walked past, saying to the server, "This room, please." The server nodded and went into the room, and I followed in. I thought for a second and shouted to Eric, "Aren't you coming in?" "No, I've got other things to do." "Let me know how much you spend." He sounded odd, like he had a stuffy nose. I didn't think much of it and shut the door to the room. Everyone else in the room heard when Eric said he had things to do, so nobody mentioned it. I felt unenthused. I had said all that needed saying, yet I still felt unhappy. "Sis, try this." Simon put a piece of grilled fish in front of me, and I suddenly felt queasy. I used to hate fish, and it got worse after getting pregnant. I rushed out of the room and vomited in the restroom. After cleaning up, I unexpectedly saw Simon staring at me with a kind of complicated look. "So what? Ever hear of food poisoning?" He shook his head. "You look exactly like when my cousin was pregnant." I said nothing. As if he really knew I was pregnant. Simon pulled out a bottle of folic acid. "The doctor gave this to my cousin when she was pregnant too." "You?" I was furious. I didn't expect Simon to have a habit of stealing things. He shook his head. "You ran out so fast you bumped into my bag. It fell out from there." I went silent. Simon sighed and approached me. "Have you decided what to do with this baby?" "I'm keeping it." My words shocked Simon. "You're gonna have a kid for a guy who's cheated on you?" I was still adjusting. "This is my child. It has nothing to do with him." He seemed to accept that. "All right, if you need anything, you can count on me." Simon and I walked back to the room, one behind the other. Cindy made some obligatory comments of concern, then started chatting again. I sighed in relief. Luckily, no one found out. Eric went on another business trip. He was back 3 days later. But unlike before, he brought gifts for everyone in the president's office. Mine was some pastries I usually love. This pastry can only be bought in the city he just traveled to. Normally, I have to wait days for delivery. What did you get? Something edible. What about you? Simon seemed puzzled. I got some green tea. Everyone's gift differed, but they were of similar value, so no one compared too much. Stella, come with me. Eric tapped on my desk to remind me. I walked into the office under the sympathetic gazes of my colleagues. Is it good? I was confused. What? He showed no expression, watching me from his chair. The pastries I brought back. What's up with Eric? Did he take the wrong pills? Not bad. He squinted. Not bad? In an instant, the fear he always triggered in me resurfaced. Delicious. I replied emphatically, vividly expressing delight in the pastries. Next time, I'll bring you more. You've lost weight lately. I stared wide-eyed at Eric. Why was he acting so gentle? Does he know I'm pregnant? Do you think I've lost weight? His worried face confirmed it. Yeah, you look a lot thinner. Isn't that right? The little one inside is as restless as their dad. My pregnancy symptoms were intense. Trouble eating means losing weight. Do you know why? I carefully asked him, afraid he'd say something I didn't want to hear. No clue, but you must not be taking care of yourself. I'll move back in, so I can look after you. Never knew Eric had such thick skin. Yet I was secretly glad he didn't know he'd be an unexpected dad. No need. It's not appropriate. All right. He seemed to have expected this, not saying another word. As I was about to leave, I heard Eric behind me. Stella, this time it's my turn to pursue you. I know how messed up I was before, and I'll change. I suppressed a smile and replied coolly. Perfect, aloof and elegant, neither accepting nor rejecting. I walked back to my desk, delightfully taking a pastry bite. Honestly, not terminating the pregnancy means I still hold some hope for Eric. To be fair, he barely passes as a decent boyfriend. At least we were compatible at times. Thinking of his heroic demeanor, I kind of missed it. If he could really change a little, then reconciling might be possible. Everyone in the company knew Eric was chasing me. He was very public about it, sending flowers and gifts. Trying to make up for all the things he owed me. Simon's gaze grew more resentful. Did he sway your heart? Is it that obvious? I touched my face, realizing I'd been smiling the whole time. No way. Stop saying nonsense. He sighed. Is this baby Eric's? Startled, I quickly covered his mouth. Glanced around warily, seeing no one noticed, I let go. Watch what you say. My reaction was too much. Simon must have figured it out. He pouted. Why haven't you said yes to Eric then? Want to be a single mom? This brat revealed his true nature after Eric started pursuing me. Gone were that previous cuteness. He has to pay for his past treatment of me. I won't let him get off easy. Exactly. Simon seemed more excited than me. Don't let him off the hook. Don't get beguiled by his sweet nothings. I felt a bit guilty. What if I've already fallen under his spell? Eric came by again to drop off lunch, and Cindy and the others didn't dare look up. Stella, it's your favorite food. I kept my face cold. Leave it over there. Eric set the lunchbox down, staring straight at me. Eat it while it's hot. Cold food isn't good for you. I ground my teeth silently. Who could resist such a gentle Eric? I was really on the brink. Simon ran over, grabbed the lunchbox, without even glancing at Eric, and asked me. I'm starving. Can I have it? Why should it be yours? Go ahead. Women really do say one thing and mean another. I felt guilty, worried Eric would give up now. When I pursued him back then, I'd been brushed aside like this too. But he just teared up, speaking in a hoarse voice. It's all right, I'll bring you more next time. I sighed in relief, realizing he's more serious than I thought. Tomorrow's the day for my prenatal exam. I requested half the day off. Normally, Eric would have denied it because I wrote bad mood as the reason. But now he just looked at me, asking why my mood was bad. I don't know. He frowned and then approved my leave. Go clear your head. I'm giving you a day. Holding the slip, I exited his office, and Simon nudged over. Did he approve? Of course, don't you know me? He pouted. Eric totally plays favorites. Last time I said I was in a bad mood, he told me to channel my energy into work. He said it would lift my spirits. Enough of that, get back to work. The next day, I went to the hospital. It was super crowded, and since I was lazy and got up late, I sat in the lobby waiting. It wasn't until almost noon that I finished a series of tests, holding the report as I walked into the doctor's office. The same lady doctor from last time was there. Not bad, but you need to eat a little less. If the baby gets too big, it won't be easy to deliver. It's all Eric's fault. He's been feeding me 5 meals a day, each one hitting the spot, and I've gained a lot of weight lately. Auntie, I'm here. Simon suddenly appeared at the office door, giving me a fright. What are you doing here? The lady doctor looked between us. This is my nephew. Do you know each other? I nodded and said, colleagues. The lady doctor seemed to relax and then looked at Simon. What are you doing here? Simon, holding a lunchbox, said, Uncle made your favorite food for lunch. I brought it over especially for you. Just leave it there. I told him to take note of what we just discussed, saying it's already been 3 months so it's fine too. Simon looked like he was about to explode. Auntie, let's go. The lady doctor seemed a bit confused but nodded. I walked out of the office with Simon beside me, carefully supporting me. I was a bit amused and asked, what's up? There are too many people in the hospital, you have to be careful. I know Simon has feelings for me, but I'm pregnant and, even if things don't work out with Eric, I don't want to lead Simon on. Simon, you'll meet someone better. My words surprised him and he stood frozen for a while. I know, but at least let me look after you for now. All right, I said, shaking my head in resignation. Even though Eric gave me the day off, I still went to work in the afternoon. Summer afternoons make me drowsy, and I was dozing off at my desk when Simon suddenly leaned over and said, oh. What? I was still half asleep when Simon handed me his phone. On the screen was a message in the company group chat. Everyone in the company was in it. Lisa had posted several photos of Simon holding me in a close manner. The words obstetrics and gynecology were clearly visible in the background. Below, she added a message, accompanied a friend to a prenatal checkup and unexpectedly ran into someone. Isn't Stella dating Eric? Why is she going to OB/GYN with another guy? The group is huge, so after Lisa left the company, no one noticed she was still in it. While the group is usually quite lively, after Lisa posted, there was radio silence. Everyone knows Eric's been after me. I felt a cold chill as Eric walked out of his office and stood at my desk. His eyes were red, like really red, like he might actually cry. He didn't even glance at Simon beside me, just stared straight into my eyes. Explain. I got up nervously. Calm down first, okay? Let me think. Eric didn't say anything, seemingly waiting for my answer. Looking into his red eyes, I was terrified he'd start sobbing at any moment. The kid is yours, I said, just as I heard Cindy's cup hit the ground, breaking. Mine? Eric seemed confused. Are you saying the one you're carrying is mine? Eric seemed a bit off, so I nodded. Yes, yours. Tears rolled down his face as he carefully said, Sorry, I'm just so happy. Did I scare you? Don't be afraid, Eric quickly turned and went back into his office. Everyone outside the office was in shock. He cried. I suddenly remembered that when Eric's eyes water, he either lowers his head or leaves. Could it be he's always crying? I felt like I was meeting Eric for the first time. Simon looked at me with a complex expression and said, "Maybe you should go comfort him. After all, Eric's a guy, his ego's probably bruised." Inside, Eric was wiping his tears with a tissue. I walked over and hugged him. "Don't cry, I was planning to tell you." He sniffed, turned around, and hugged me. "I'm sorry, I hadn't considered your feelings before. I'll be a good dad, I promise." I hesitated. "Everyone probably knows you cried." He shrugged it off. "It's okay, I'm just glad to have you back." I got back together with Eric. Our 2-year relationship isn't a secret, and our coworkers were all stunned. Now, I'm Eric's wife, and we have a cute baby boy who looks just like him. Ever since Eric cried in front of me, it's like he can't stop. He tears up over the smallest things, and I don't know what to do with him. It's like he's found my weak spot. Even when he's a little needy, he sheds a tear. What can I do? Just go along with it. After all, you gotta spoil your own husband. Stella's epilogue. Leo is 3.5 now. He doesn't cry much. Even when he's upset, he just pouts. I asked him why he doesn't cry, and this is what he said. "Dad cries all the time. I think it's embarrassing. Boys shouldn't cry." One day, I stumbled across a notebook in the study drawer titled Cry Diary. I opened it out of curiosity. "Middle school is so hard, don't want to go. Cried for 2 minutes today. Oh no, didn't do well on the test. Cried for a minute." I couldn't help but chuckle. This must be Eric's diary of how long he cried. I flipped through the pages and finally found the entry about me. "I'm with Stella now, cried for 5 minutes. Stella said something that upset me, cried secretly for 3 minutes today. Finally got Stella, shed 2 tears, felt good. Stella wants to break up with me. She said she's serious. Cried for half an hour." I turned the pages with mixed feelings. Traveling for a week, miss her. Cried looking at her picture, can't remember how long. She said she had a good week, was at work, so I only cried for 5 minutes. She won't let me move back, cried in the hallway for 3 minutes. Can't let her see me so pathetic. Going to be a dad, cried for half an hour. Got married to Stella today, held back the tears. Stella must be in a lot of pain giving birth, she screamed so much, never want kids again. Didn't dare to cry, didn't want her to worry. I suddenly remembered the day when her water broke. Eric was calm, getting everything ready. His hands were shaking, but he didn't cry this time. "Stella, I'm here. I'm your husband, I'll always be with you." His voice was choked up, turns out he was holding back tears. Eric's epilogue. I've always been emotional and cried easily. No matter how many doctors my mom took me to, it didn't help. I just cry a lot. Stella is the bravest girl I've ever met. I don't cry at work. I'm always serious, scolding people, and everyone is scared of me. But not Stella. She must like me, she makes me food every day and reminds me to wear more clothes. I never thought a crybaby like me would have someone who likes him. Stella and I got together. But I didn't know how to date. I thought being together was all that mattered. I ended up ignoring her feelings. When she first mentioned breaking up, I lost it. I drank a bit and got all muddled up, and then. But I don't regret it. I will take responsibility for her. I didn't expect us to really break up. I thought we needed some time to cool off, so I went on a business trip. But it seemed like Stella cooled off too much because she really didn't want me anymore. I cried again. On another business trip, I met a friend who was a pro at relationships, so I asked for advice. When he heard about me and Stella, his eyes nearly popped out. He said, "Stella must really love you." Of course, I mean, look at who I am. But then my face grew serious when he told me how a normal couple should act. That's when I realized how out of line I was before. Luckily, Stella came back to me. I didn't miss out on my moon. Simon's Epilogue. I first saw Stella my freshman year in college. Her presence during the debate tournament was unforgettable. Every word she spoke was clear and precise, leaving her opponent speechless. In college, I was pretty average, and I struggled to find a decent job after graduation. I never expected to run into her again. This time, I wanted to get close to her. Even though it didn't work out, I don't regret it. At least now, she's happy.